movement where we are connecting Punjabi professionals and entrepreneurs, business owners across the world so that they can all prosper and give back to the society. I am your host. My name is Sandeep Dhall. I have a couple of businesses. One of them is an advisory merger and acquisition business where we invest resources, our education, our expertise, and our more than just money. And we bring in the missing piece of the puzzle, like I'll say, and help connect the dots for the middle market and the small and medium business owners. Apart from finance, I'm also partnered with Sapphires and Partners. We are helping in this with finding the pricing and customer segmentation sweet spot for product and prices that increase revenue margins and sales volume. Because pricing is a big lever and everybody knows that, but we feel that companies still guess the pricing rather than going a data-driven approach on that. I also own a marketing company, which my team can take care of the online presence and all those things related to it. I am a co-chair of the Punjabi Chamber of Commerce for the California San Francisco Bay Area chapter. And I give you a brief about our organization. We are a nonprofit and funded with the generous support of the community. It was established in 2017 by the members of Indian Punjabi community in the Greater New York and New Jersey area. It is dedicated to uniting the Punjabi community globally and with no religion, no politics policy in place. And since inception, we have helped entrepreneurs and professionals grow their business and lead their organizations better, and community leaders expand their reach. And we are helping, like I said, large corporates to small and medium enterprises, small business owners across the world. And this is signing up is very easy. And we have recently formed a new group called Punjabi Angels. And the main purpose of this group is to connect the startups to mentors and investors, and also connecting the business owners in the future with funding sources. If you have a business idea and it doesn't look like a tech startup, it is also a forum for that. We have a youth wing also, and it is forming, and we are forming that in the Bay Area or in the California. And if you know any youth who is interested in being a part of it, please let us know. I have pleasure of inviting being as a guest Mark Cordray. He is a founder and principal advisor to Cordray Growth Technologies Catalyst Plan, and he is a premier thought leader and recognized premium thought leader, practical strategist, and you will know why it says practical strategist in a few minutes, who delivers documented gross margin gains and net profit results in today's highly commoditized and price-driven markets. Highly commoditized, but we still find differentiations and all that, and we will cover those topics in the few minutes. His passion is inventing exceptional business models and processes that excel to their fullest potential. He has been published more than 500 times, and when I googled his name, I saw a bunch of interviews, bunch of blogs related to him. And he has also presented at hundreds of industry events over 4 decades, and have achieved multiple awards and for innovation and lifetime achievement. He specializes in various industries, and I think he started with printing and specialty graphics, if I'm correct. And then we moved to many other things like contracting, remodeling, service, professional services, steel fabrication. And I think what he talks about today can apply to everyone, from hospitals to call centers to maybe real estate, multifamily, anything. And let's move on. And today's topic is understanding the physics of profit and profit leverage. And I will now, my first question, Mark, to you is welcome here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you very much. My first question to you is, I'm not a science student, and when I was discussing this, I was so intrigued, curious about it. What has physics to do with profit and an organization?
So during COVID, I made a point. I'm primarily a business coach now. I work with hundreds of companies, over 400, almost 500 companies now in the last 4 years. So I see all kinds of different businesses. And during COVID, I used that time to reach out and connect with 9,000 business owners on LinkedIn of companies between $1 million and $10 million of revenue. And during that period, I would schedule calls and meetings with them, which were basically discovery calls. And we had over 600 of those calls. And the pitch was business owner to business owner. I'm reaching out to you to find out what is happening in your industry and your geographic region, independent of what the media is saying. I wanted to know boots on the ground what was happening. Okay. And I recorded all the information, was very precise about it. And out of that, it became very, very clear that I was seeing with the lockdowns, if you were non-essential, businesses of different sizes were having more and more difficulty in accelerating their business back to the momentum that they had prior to COVID. The bigger the business, the harder it was to start. And the smaller the business, the faster they could move and the less effort it took to get them back in the game. So I sat back one day and I just was thinking to myself, you know, businesses, big business and a small business, a big business has more mass than a small business. Yep. And to get that mass going, you have to overcome the inertia of the business, the stop. You have to put more force and more energy in it in order to accelerate it, to get it back to the speed and the momentum that it had before. And then all of a sudden I realized these are all terms from physics: mass, acceleration, velocity, speed. And so I went back to my bookshelf and I'm a voracious reader, and I pulled out all my old physics textbooks, and son of a gun, it turns out that running a business follows Newton's laws of motion and the laws of leverage. And so from that, I went back and started looking at how we run our businesses, our lead generation, our sales, our sales turnover, our delivery of our project, everything that we run our business. I took it apart and I found 42 different things that will affect the profitability of a business. And then from that, I started looking at it and said, okay, if I can connect these different factors like a lever, I can lift more weight with less effort. And from that, I developed what I call Coudray's law of inverse effort, which says if you want to double your business, you only need half the effort. And if you want to quadruple your business, you only need 1/4 of the effort. Now, I started that as a thought experiment to see how I could improve the efficiency. And as I started to work, I realized that it was far, far greater than just an inverse effort. I could get 100 times the result with 1/100th of the effort if they were the right levers in the right sequence. So this is what we started to do, is we started putting together different levers that are very easy to do with very small incremental improvements. So for instance, if I take just 10 specific levers of the 42 and put them together in a specific sequence, which I've experimented with now for almost 2 years, only a 3% improvement in each lever typically doubles the top line revenue, quadruples the bottom line revenue, the net profit 4 times, and improves the cash position up to 900%.
Wow.
And it stunned me when we started to actually work through these and actually start receiving actual results from our clients. And the most common response that we've gotten so far is, wow, I never would have thought of that, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
What are these levers? Because I had many questions in my mind, but then I think 3% in each lever, if we can go.
So here's a perfect example. One lever is to increase prices. Another lever is to reduce operating expense. 3% in each one of those areas is 6% additively.
Yeah.
That's 6% improvement in net profit just from those two alone. The one that is the most impressive, that we've had the biggest gains with, that actually can be some stunning gains, is when we're working with someone that delivers a specific service or a specific product that has a time-based element to it.
Mm-hmm.
So think Federal Express or UPS. If you want to send an overnight early AM delivery letter, it's going to be $100 to send that.
Yeah.
If you want a next day letter that's delivered the next day, it's going to be $50.
Yeah.
If you want a second day delivery, that's $30.
Yeah.
If you want to send it by ground, it might be $6.
Yeah.
So if you look at the next day early morning, the next day sometime next day, and the second day letter, they all use the exact same service, the same delivery, the same airplanes, the same delivery vans. It's the same amount of work. But if you look at the value that's being collected for that service, it's multiples of each other. And so that's an example of using time with gross margin. So if you take the gross margin on a product and divide it by time, now you have a value that you can front load into the accounting period, whether it's the week or whether it's the day or whether it's the month, that has the effect of depressing the break even of the month, pushes it back. Once you hit your break even, 100% of all of your margin becomes profit. And this is one of the big mistakes that I've struggled with most small business owners, is that they're under the old school accounting impression that I've got this margin and this margin is better than the market, so this is going to give me a 10% profit. It's a huge lie. It will only give you a 10% profit if you're operating at the efficiency that you designed it for. So if you said, okay, my break even for my business is $10,000 or $20,000 a month, and you have 20 working days in the month, your cost per day is $1,000 per day, 20 divided into 20,000. Now, if you only work 18 days because you were short supply chain issues or short labor or short any of the things that COVID has affected us with, now you're taking that $20,000 and dividing it by 18 or dividing it by 16 or dividing it, less. So your cost is going up progressively higher and higher. So you never, if you use standard costing, it's a recipe for focusing on the break even. So some months you'll be a little bit above, some months you'll be a little bit less. But when you focus on maximizing the margin divided by time, I'm getting clients now that we're breaking even on day 19 or the morning of day 20, and we're showing a 2 and 3 and 4% profit, which was very typical for construction and contracting.
Yeah.
Now they're delivering and they're breaking even on day 15, day 13, day 12. And their profit went from being just enough to pay their bills to having tens of thousands of dollars per month of additional profit with no additional effort other than scheduling effectively.
Fantastic. I love it. And I want to ask you another question. You also mentioned inertia. What, in your opinion, are the top 2 or 3 inertias for any business which stops them from taking bottom line or top line increase?
Focus. They need to have a focus of where they're going and a sense of urgency. I see so many businesses where people are milling around, waiting for directions, waiting to get started. And it might be, they might show up to work, having a cup of coffee, chatting around the the office cooler or whatever, waiting for a machine to warm up before they can start production. And it might be 15, 20 minutes. A typical example in a printing plant, a small printing plant, the cost per hour is about $300 per hour. That's a very small operation.
Yeah.
That's $5 a minute.
Yeah.
So if you're standing around for 15 minutes, you just burned $75 of time that you will never, ever get back. And you've just increased the cost to break even by that $75. And you do that every day with every break, with every lunch, with everything. And it adds up to hundreds of hours per month. And that's,
yeah, and I think that's, and I see so many, but people sometimes take this as an opportunity to interact with each other and all that, and make it as a. I know there's a need for a team building and all that, but when, especially in terms of manufacturing, you need to be on top of everything, and even in other parts of the company also, you need to be focused on to giving the best at that time when you're working. So team building also has to be designed in a way that you are actually delivering and not chit-chatting. You need to be focused. That's what you're saying right now, right?
And that's a great point. And the key thing, Sandeep, that we've discovered so far as we look deeper into this is kind of like we have a magnifying glass and we can now look deep into our businesses. We're finding more and more things that we're questioning whether we should even be doing them or not. Because with the labor situation the way it is today, and with the supply situation the way it is today, there's a huge amount of uncertainty that we didn't formerly have. So now we're forced to become more efficient, and you're starting to see more and more automation of tasks that were done by people are now being done robotically, or they're being done with computer algorithms. They're being done with AI. We use AI in at least 5 different areas in my business. I built some of my own AI apps. They're not ready for prime time or anything like that. I know just enough to break stuff on a regular basis, but the discovery of what we're able to get from the application of the data and understanding of the data is phenomenal. And it grows and it gets better every single day.
Awesome. And when you said that another thing which you said a few minutes back was, and it's very, very difficult for people to understand, and why somebody will say to double the turnover, you need double the turnover is Indian word, I think, the revenue,
right?
Double the revenue by putting in half the effort, and quadruple it by quarter this. Can you explain that, please?
Let's convert it. Let's apply this to a landscape contractor.
Okay.
Guy that works in your yard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And let's equate the distance that he's got to move some rocks to the number of days in the month. So he's going to start off his business and he's got to move a 50-pound rock 30 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to pick up that rock, we're going to muscle it up, and we're going to carry it that 30 feet, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but we can do that.
Yeah.
So then we come back and we say, okay, look, the next rock weighs 500 pounds, but I've only got just me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get a wheelbarrow. I'm going to get some type of a lever, a pry bar. I'm going to get, something, a dolly maybe that I could get underneath it and lift it. And it's going to be hard, but it's about the same amount of effort as I did when I just carried that rock.
Yeah.
So now I'm finished getting that 500-pound rock, that 30 feet, and I'm like sweating, and it's like, wow, that was tough, but it was 10 times the weight of the 50-pound rock.
Yeah.
Now the next rock weighs 5,000 pounds. I can't put that in a wheelbarrow. I can't do it with a bobcat. I'm going to have to get a backhoe or an excavator. And if I'm running that excavator, I'm pulling a little lever here or there, which is zero effort compared to the amount of effort that I did to carry that 500-pound rock. But I've just moved a 2.5-ton rock that 30 feet, and I didn't even break a sweat because I used leverage.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was the vision that I had in my mind to explain this for any kind of a business, but just for contracting is a good start.
Yeah, contracting is a good. How you explained it, it goes very very deep, and everybody has yards, and they can figure out from there. And I think this model is applicable everywhere in the business. Now, I wanted to also ask you about we talked about a lot of things, but acceleration points. Where do you think, apart from pricing, like I also do pricing, as you know, we have predictive pricing strategies and all that will help people get the pricing sweet spots. Now, what are other things for acceleration for our business?
So this is a great question, because most folks that are focusing on pricing are doing it from a cost recovery standpoint. They're looking at how their costs are incurred, how their costs change over time. Are they fixed costs? Are they variable costs? They get all this confusion going on around that. What we want to do is focus on the result that we're after and look at that result and determine the sensitivity of that result over time. If we can deliver the result faster, is there a benefit to the client to that? So if you're in the real estate business, if I can build a house 30 days faster than the other contractor, because I've thought about systems and I've thought about doing different kinds of things ahead of time, modular type building, things like that, offsite building. If I can accelerate the outcome of that by 30 days, I've just saved an entire month of mortgage payment on that building. So there's a tangible value for finishing early. So we look at this and we say, okay, for instance, a perfect example of acceleration would be to say, if I'm doing a digital marketing campaign and I've got a conversion rate of 35%, and I've got a return on my advertising of 6x or 5x for top line revenue, we know that $100 is going to create 35% conversion, and then that's going to create 5 times the revenue for that.
Yeah.
If we take $1,000, we just multiply it through and we see the multiplication effect. My goal on any type of acceleration around client acquisition or business growth is to acquire customers where you're getting paid to acquire the customer. So essentially, you don't want to be in a negative situation. And the negative situation is where most digital marketers get it wrong. They're focused on the top line. I'm focusing on the bottom line. I'm focusing on the gross margin that I'm generating. And I'm looking at how that gross margin is used and acquired over time. So if I get a gross margin of a training course that I sell, and that gross margin on that course is $2,000, and I get that $2,000 as soon as they buy the product, I'm going to accelerate that as fast as I possibly can, because every minute somebody clicks that button, I get $2,000 more in my pocket. The work's already been done. It's on Kajabi or it's on, whatever platform, Teachable or whatever, and I immediately acquire that. As opposed to a project where the gross margin might be $20,000, but it takes 6 months to complete the project before you can recover that cost. So we're looking at the time value of the margin that's being converted.
And does it, so you have brought a very good point here from what in any business, to increase profit and profit leverage and all that, these days people are talking about creating subscription models, creating some kind of a regular sum, so that we can have, that's very important. Even in business and industries where there was never a subscription model, people are now thinking about that. Would you have something to say?
Oh, absolutely. A subscription model allows you to build a population, a market. They pay you on the first day of the month. You've covered your entire operating cost for the month on day one. Everything from that point on, every dollar that you bring in goes directly to the bottom line.
Yeah.
So
And
this is an absolutely perfect example. And when you have your subscription model where it's spread out over the month, then you're still chasing money to be able to pay your rent and to pay your payroll and pay this. But when you move everything to the first day of the month, now you've got all the money collected. It's not sales, it's collected revenue. And collected revenue is what you can actually spend and apply. You can put it into more ads, you can put it into the acquisition of more customers. You know, another factor with the subscription model is, what is your retention rate? The average retention rate on a subscription model is 4 months. So if you can increase your subscription retention, it dramatically lowers the force, the resistance, or the friction of acquiring more customers to grow the business. Because if you lose 4, you've got to replace those 4 before you can see any growth.
And I would like to add one more thing here, like in business apps and these SaaS companies do this, and maybe other industries can also apply that. I'm streaming my video through an app for which I paid around to convert my iPhone into a webcam. And that has improved my otherwise my MacBook Pro was not giving it. So when I was negotiating or I was trying to reach out, I find the per monthly was around, say, 20, or yearly was $35 or something, or $40, and lifetime was around $70. And I went in for a lifetime, and I was trying to negotiate as habit and say, what is this $70, and can you do you have a promotion code for that? Then the guy said, 70, this product is to make sure, what you're saying is to get us enough money for developing new products, and we have discounted it enough. And then I thought, you know what, this is exactly right. You have a stream of product, you have an R&D budget, you have something going on, like you're saying, operational budget and all that, and we have something, say, a product or a subscription model or something created for feeding that thing, and then after that, everything else is a profit.
Exactly. And I think another issue that we've identified is that most small and medium businesses are stuck in a transactional mindset.
Yes.
Transactional mindset, meaning that you bring in a new client or a new job or a new project, you get paid for that, then you have to go hunting again for the next one. The subscription or recurring model is continuous. It's continuously moving. So once the wheel is moving, it's like tapping it with your finger to keep it going the same speed, if not picking up a little additional momentum with a tiny little tap. Again, that's physics.
Yeah. I have a question from the audience. It says, so can we say that subscription model is a sustainable model for the business? And I will add, can we say subscription model is a predictable and sustainable model for the business?
A qualified yes. And the qualified yes is that your model is based on an offer in time. You're making an offer that you're going to deliver these services for this price every month or whatever. And you're giving access to the client for that. The issue is that we're in a technologically driven world where things advance and new competitive processes come online. So you need to have an upgrade path in order to maintain engagement. And if you look at a lot of the SaaS offers, they'll say lifetime price, including upgrades. This keeps things fresh. This keeps things competitive, because when you look at your position in the marketplace, I look at it from a 3-step process. Number one, I try and understand the market and the customer, no matter who they are, how price driven they are, how commoditized they are. And I've used AI, and I've been able to create a model that makes them competitively unique, which means there's no competition. That one fact, if you can make someone competitively unique, we're the only game in town, that's worth 6 to 9 gross margin points. That's huge. It makes almost any business double-digit profitable just by making them competitively unique. But it doesn't stop there. The next step is to be sufficiently unique that your competitors are going to take a while to figure out. It's going to be hard for them to figure out and make it work the way yours is working. That advantage is called competitive durability.
Mm-hmm.
How durable is your competitive advantage? And then ultimately, I'm after the version length, which is competitive longevity, which is how long does your competitive advantage last before I release version 2, version 3, version 4, version 3.2, version 3.4 through version 3.6. Is it a .x extension or is it a full version release extension? So the software industry understands this completely. They're fixing bugs. They're changing the app based on the OS that it's running. They've got external factors that are driving them that is forcing upgrades. Now, I look at it from the standpoint that I want performance upgrades based on the result that we deliver to the client or the market that we're serving. That's going to continue your position of excellence. And you've planned this out ahead of time. You can see when competitors are knocking at your door, that's when you release the next full version. So they're always one step behind. That maintains your position as thought leader.
Yeah, and I think that also, when I was reading your bio, you had commoditization and all that. What you're talking about is because of that, you're bringing differentiation also in your product. And I love the way you have explained competitive advantage, because we have started using competitive advantage. I use it all the time in my communication, but you have brought two different things in that. Competitive advantage durability, and competitive advantage longevity. And I think they are very valid point. Thank you very much for bringing and educating us on that. And one more thing, I just thought, when we look at I read a book from Peter Thiel, and he says 0 to 1. I think
right. I've read it.
You read it.
Yeah.
So I love the thing 0 to 1, because when we are trying to just increase the incrementally, and we are in our transactional mindset, and even if we are trying to increase it by 1% or 0.5% every year or something, or every month, we may end up at a place where somebody will come in and take the carpet beneath you, and then you have floor out of you, and you are nowhere. And that's how disruptions happen. That's how many industries and many businesses get wiped out. What do you have to say from your physics point of view? How do you keep, and how does your business, small and medium business owners who do not have too much money for R&D and all that, keep thinking something about 0 to 1?
So this is really great, because what we're talking about here is overcoming inertia. The 0 to 1 is overcoming the inertia of whatever your project or your initiative, whatever it is. You're getting engagement at that point. When someone gives you 1 cent, that's 0 to 1, or $1, that's 0 to 1. Whatever it is, they've demonstrated the fact that there's forward movement. And if you duplicate that effort 100 times or 1,000 times, you've applied more force, which is acceleration, to accelerate your revenue moving forward. Once you've got the revenue moving forward, then it becomes an issue of extension. So it's invention, which is 0 to 1, and then it's invention extension, which is how do we continue to iterate and move forward. And you can iterate and move forward on many different dimensions other than the actual software that you're selling. So what other partners can you bring in that provide value to you? You know, what other kinds of services are complementary that can enhance the use of what you're working with? Think about the photographic industry. There's different lenses, there's different lighting systems. There's all these different kinds of things that enhance the user experience. So user experience, user interface, customer experience, all of this becomes part of the customer journey. And one of my mental models that I use in my stack of mental models that I call my mental framework is think 5 steps ahead. So everything that I do, I think, okay, I'm at point A, I'm moving to point B. If I'm at point B, what are the characteristics of point B? And I identify everything at point B. And as I look at point B as an event in time, there's only 3 things that can happen, and 2 of them are bad. Yeah. Right? It can die at that point and disengage, and you've lost the relationship at that point. It can stay the same, which is no growth, or it can grow. So for it to grow, I want to identify all of the factors that will influence my growth from point A to B, and B to C, and C to D, and so on and so forth. And that way I've got a vision of what's coming ahead, because I'm thinking 5 steps ahead. Almost everybody in this business is getting ready for the next Scrum step. You know, they're going for the next sprint. They're going on these incremental milestones. They're not thinking 5 steps ahead. They're thinking 1 step ahead. And if something doesn't go well, then they move from the positive outcome to neutral or negative. And they don't really have a plan for neutral or negative. So I have a plan for neutral and negative, how to bring them back into the positive path, regardless of what the outcome is.
Okay, one more question. I have personally talked to, for my marketing company, talked to many business owners and some small and medium firms also. And invariably, I find a few people come back to me and say in my presentation, say, hey, we are busy up to next 6 months or 3 months. We don't need you, and we don't need your marketing, or we don't need your online presence, because we are busy for next 3 months. And I am trying to tell these folks and say, you're busy up to next 3 months. And after 3 months, a tsunami can come and wipe you out. And your other guy has, like in your, if I'm understanding physics, has got more traction and building the momentum. And then he has much more competitive advantage. And then at that time, it will be a catch up, and you will lose the market share, which you have been gaining for the last 20 years. Am I correct?
So think about this like an airplane. Let's apply the physics to an airplane.
Yeah.
Right? You've got a jet engine that provides the force to accelerate the plane down the runway on a wheel that's rolling, right, to reduce the friction of the runway until it reaches a speed where the dynamics of the wing flow, the airflow, causes the plane to lift off. Now the engine is providing thrust to accelerate it to a higher altitude. Suppose the engine stops. Suppose you run out of gas. Right? If the engines stop, you have the lift of the wing to allow you to glide to an outcome. This is exactly the example of compound leverage, where you've got wheels to reduce the friction on takeoff. You've got the power of the engine to provide the velocity and the force and the thrust. And then you have the lift of the wing to sustain you once you're in the air. Yeah. And so what I see, the description that you have, I see this every single day. And this is one of the big lies of being an entrepreneur. And the big lie of being an entrepreneur is work hard, get ahead. I'm a testament to that. I've been in business almost 50 years. The first 37 years I was in business, it was work hard, get old. Right? Now it's work hard, be smart.
Yeah.
I want to work hard to be smart. And to be smart means, how can I get the result with less effort? So when somebody says, we're so busy, we've got all the business we can handle, I ask them, what's missing in your life? You may be busy in business, but what about your family? Yeah. What about your recreation? What about your time to grow? What about your fitness? Mm-hmm. This is work-life balance that everybody is mysteriously looking for, because they're following the hustle mentality. I want to open up time, because that's the only resource that every one of us have the same access to 24 hours in the day until we die. Then we don't have it anymore. But once 1 minute goes away, once 1 minute is consumed, we'll never get it back. We'll never get that minute back.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have another question from the audience. It says, how do I make sure that I am always ahead of my competitors? And does having a wide array of product range create fuss or create problems for me to manage and grow faster? It's 2 questions, basically. How do I make sure I am always ahead of my competition? So we have covered a little bit, but maybe you can summarize a little bit.
That's a question on commoditization. If you got a competitor and he's got the same thing that you've got, and you've got the same thing that he's got, you're always going to be in this battle with each other. It's push and push, push and push. Think about the customer. When the customer comes and says, what's your best price on this? And you give him a price, you push back. And he says, that's too much. And he pushes back. And you say, well, I can do a little bit better. And then you go into this fruitless exercise of wasting energy through negotiation. It takes time, it takes effort, and the ultimate bottom line is every dollar, every dime that you discount is a dime off your profit or a dollar off your profit. So in martial arts, they tell you if someone comes at you, instead of pushing back, you grab the hand and pull them forward. So here's the philosophy for us is that if you're worried about your competition, I don't worry about the competition. I focus everything that I do on delivering a superior result for my client. Listen carefully to that.
Yeah.
I focus on delivering a superior result. My competition is trying to match who I am and match my price. But if I'm focused on a result, he can't deliver the same result. That's where your competitive advantage comes in, is shift your focus from being a commodity to focusing on results. And that gives you a switch from being cost-based to being value-based.
And so the next question comes is it okay to offer services at lower prices for a certain time, bearing loss to generate more sales and gain customers in the long run? Is it a good strategy?
It's a strategy. I don't like good. I don't like bad. If you're breaking even on day 20 or day 19 of a 21-day month, it's a horrible strategy. If you're breaking even on day 10 or day 12, it's a perfect strategy because you're acquiring customers. And once you acquire a customer, you can start focusing on the user experience and the customer experience and move them down the customer journey lifetime value path. And what that does is it increases their trust as they trust you to give a great result, and their value goes up. So it is absolutely a strategy, but it depends on the business that you're working on and understanding how the pieces fit together.
Yeah. And even if what you're saying is that even if somebody offers a discount, it should not be a constant going off, and you, rather than going in for constant discount and all that, you need to build a superior value, deliver product and deliver superior value to the customer so that they don't even ask you for a discount. They actually are willing to pay you a premium for that.
So exactly. And so here's my approach. I never, ever discount, ever, because that's going off of what is the lowest that I can sell for and still, make it worth my time.
Yeah.
So instead of discounting, I offer more. And this is where creating packages and bundles really come into play. I can't give you a discount, but I can include this assessment, or I can include this additional thing that will add value to what I'm selling to you.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden I'm adding something that doesn't cost me anything more, but gives me substantial value to extend the life of my product, to extend an extra sharpening service, or something that's going to make it easier and better and more enjoyable to use what I'm delivering.
And you are able to get that product in the hand of the customer as a test, and also get more opportunity to do customer engagement in the future, right? If you do a discount, there is a transactional thing, and you just got one thing out of it and nothing more.
So a lot of people today, we've had 2 years. Most people haven't been traveling much during those 2 years. I've been on airplanes way too much. And I go back 40 years on airplanes. And when you were flying 40 years ago in coach class, you'd get a full lunch and everything would be great. You get pillows and blankets and, anything that you wanted, you could get. And you'd pay a certain price for that. Well, then the discount airlines came along and they started charging you for lunch and charging you for water and charging you for a blanket and charging you for a pillow, charging you to select your seat, charging you to select the aisle versus the window, an exit row versus a bulkhead. Everything, they took it apart and now made it an extra add-on. So here's my super low price, but you know what? I'll throw in your lunch. or I'll throw in your seat assignment, or I'll throw in early boarding. Early boarding doesn't cost them a cent. But yet, if you travel a lot and you've got a tight connection, early boarding means a huge amount because it means that you can get off the plane faster. Get on the plane and off the plane faster.
Yeah, fantastic. I loved. I wish I could continue talking to you, and we'll have more sessions like that, Mark.
Well, I would love to come back and share more experience as we gain more experience in these areas. I would especially welcome any input from your listeners to how would this apply to my industry. And if you can feed that back to me or get it to me, through my contact information, I would absolutely love to do explorations around that. That's what I live for.
What we will do that is, and I think what I will ask the team to send the recording to everyone, every member and every follower for us globally. And I will request whoever is listening to reach out to Mark or me or to the chamber and have questions. And I think, Mark, you can share if you can tell us about your email address also online. It will be good.
My email address is super easy. My last name is Coudray, and my email is coudray@coudray.com.
Wow.
So it's very easy, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would welcome that. I am the only Mark Coudray on the entire LinkedIn. I don't know how easy that is, but if you'd like to reach out with me, I would enjoy connecting with you and opening a dialogue and talk to you specifically about what your issues are.
You have an excellent thing. One name, Mark Coudray, on entire LinkedIn, and and my name. And as I was growing up, Sandeep is. I think there was 7 or 8 Sandeeps in every class. I was growing up in my college, so I understand. I think you have a very unique name. You're right. So thank you very much for your time. We really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. And I would like to be in touch with you. We have a lot of things to do together also, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I've enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Great. Thank you. I'm closing it for everyone now. Thank you so much.
You. Bye.
Okay.